Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and welcome to the Local Ag Summit. As you know, many of you have been with us before for the Farmers Market and Agritourism Conference. We decided that it was about time to rebrand this thing. And what better year when nothing is going to look the same? We want to ask, first and foremost, that you be patient with us today as we figure out this new format. We have done probably more talking about how to do this than all of the other conferences in the past years combined. There is no good answer, but we're so happy that you could join us online through the virtual app for all these sessions, and we are so thrilled that some of you could be here in person. We had no idea what to expect when we started doing this, and we knew we needed a big area so we could distance, but we also needed room to have breakout sessions. But one of our biggest focuses, and this really comes from your surveys from the past, is networking. We know that that's the most important reason you come to these conferences or join online, is to be able to talk with each other and learn from each other. So you will find a lot of networking time today, whether you're in person or on the app. There's some of you that have quite a few points on the Whova app already. That's fantastic. You're talking, you're learning, some great conversations on there, and we're all doing our best as service providers to keep up with those conversations too. But I encourage you to reach out to us individually if we don't get to your chats, because some of those get pretty long. So today, as you've noticed, is a little different. We're not going to be feeding you this time. That's going to be on your own. We are not going to be handing out printed agendas. That's going to be all on the app. And I know that gets really frustrating for some. So please pull some of us aside, have us explain the agenda to you. Where am I going? If you want to follow us to the other locations, we can help you with that too. For our breakout locations today, we are using Anthem Brewery, which is just a couple blocks to our west, and then the park house, the beautiful park house at the Myriad Gardens as well. So we know that that's a little complicated than being under one roof, but we think you're really going to enjoy the new locations. So as we get started here, I kind of forgot to tell you one of the most important things, the Wi-Fi. If you are on Farmers Market Guest, your password is weekly123 all together. So you're going to need that to run your Whova app. You can use that app to start conversations all day long. It also has your agenda. You're going to get a quick lesson for the Whova app to help you better understand that before we break from this session today. But without further ado, I want to thank two of our supporters, USDA and Langston University, to help make this happen. This technology that's bringing you all the online amazingness with Whova couldn't happen without them. And I want to thank my staff from ODAF in the back here for helping us coordinate and plan. And a special thanks to the ONI project. They are the Whova wizards and are making all that happen. So lots of great people come together. Our stakeholders really helped drive your subject matter today. They are a really important part of our process, being able to tap into actual producers, so it's not just us service providers making that up as we go. So without further ado, I am going to let us watch a quick video from someone we all know, one of our greatest supporters of farmers market, local agriculture, and agritourism, and that's Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell.
Hey everybody, Oklahoma Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell here, welcoming you to the Oklahoma Ag Summit. Thank you so much for your dedication to not just your industry, but the state of Oklahoma. I am so sorry that I can't be there with you at your conference. I love this event every year. I still tell the story of 2 or 3 years ago during the ice storm. All the schools were closed, but this event was still packed. because what you do is such a big deal in the state of Oklahoma. The industry that you all support, from agritourism to the farmers markets that we have across our 77 counties. As your Secretary of Tourism, I want you to know that I am dedicated and will continue to be dedicated to working with the Department of Ag to promote your industry and make it better, help where we can help. And so my doors are always open to you here in this state capitol and my Lieutenant Governor's office. So I know it's been a tough year. We're about to turn that corner and turn again Oklahoma into a far better state and a top 10 state. And we can do that when it comes to agritourism. So again, thank you. I hope you learned a lot today and that you use this time to take more resources back into your counties. I'll always have your back, and I look forward to working with you as your Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. And now a quick message from one of our great supporters, Gary O'Neill, our state conservationist. You're going to hear a lot more from NRCS this afternoon in our closing session, but just a quick welcome.
Good morning. My name is Gary O'Neill. I'm the state conservationist for USDA NRCS. I want to welcome you to the local Ag Summit. I know this event has drawn very large crowds in the past, and I think there's still going to be opportunities as a virtual event this year, but you have a really good agenda, and I think there's some good opportunities to get connected with folks that can help you with the products you produce. NRCS has helped sponsor this meeting for the last 4 years, so we think it's really important that that we hold this event and we're able to share some information with local farmers and ranchers across the state. NRCS is a conservation agency. We work with private landowners on their conservation needs. We provide technical assistance in the form of conservation planning assistance. We develop a conservation plan that outlines some goals and objectives for the farmer or rancher. And that assistance can also lead to financial assistance through some of the Farm Bill programs, including EQIP and CSP. A couple of the practices that have been very popular to some of the producers that attend this event is seasonal high tunnels. A very popular practice that extends the growing season. If you're growing local food and produce, that practice can help you, and it's available through our program EQIP. The other practice is organic. We have funding available for organic producers, whether you're certified or you're transitioning to organic. EQIP funds are available for just those organic producers in a separate funding pool. The Monarch Butterfly Initiative is another practice or an event or initiative that's very popular to producers. If you're interested in expanding or enhancing habitat for that species, we have some funding in EQIP as well. So our programs are continuous sign-up. You can go in and sign up at our local office, and I encourage you to do that if you have an interest in any of those conservation practices or if you have conservation needs. We also have special assistance for new and beginning farmers and ranchers. Some special things through USDA, including NRCS, has some funding as well. So I encourage you, if you're just getting started in a farming operation, go in and see what's available and see if there's some extra things that might be available for you. Our assistance starts at the local field office. We have a field office in all 77 counties. So I encourage you to reach out and start your help through NRCS at that local field office. Right now, because of COVID restrictions, our office is not open to public, but we will call and meet you somewhere, and we'll get connected as best we can to provide you that assistance. So I encourage you to do that. So again, welcome to the conference. I hope you have a good experience, and hopefully you can learn some things that will help your operation. Thank you for the products that you produce here in Oklahoma. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Gary O'Neill. We're going to go through a lot of agenda, logistics, and COVID protocols and all of that before we leave here today. But I'm going to introduce our welcome speaker this morning. Secretary Blaine Arthur is with us. Many of you have met her in the past. She's on year 3 of her term as Secretary of Agriculture, has been a really important part of the agriculture industry for a long time, and you won't find a bigger supporter of what you guys do, and we are very thankful that she lets us focus on projects like this and is so supportive of local agriculture. Thank you, Secretary Arthur. I'll let you have the podium.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to see people in person. I know that we have some folks online as well, but it's wonderful to see people in person. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have learned, so a little bit about the past, but then a lot about the future, because I think we've got some tremendous opportunities ahead of us. Certainly, no one, when we had the chance to meet you all with a room full of people last year, no one would have anticipated what 2020 threw at us, right? That hindsight 2020 continues to kind of sneak up on us a little bit. But I will tell you, and I'll talk through some pieces of that, but I will tell you, everything that we have learned from an incredibly challenging year, I believe for the ag sector, is really setting us up for some tremendous opportunity. In 2019, when I had a chance to start in this position, and we still had big events and people out and about, and I got to go and talk to folks, a lot of times I would talk to staff, because I certainly have a chance to talk to people with ag backgrounds, but a lot of times I'm talking to chambers or different groups that aren't ag-centric. And in 2019, I said, sometimes I just wish that people maybe didn't have food for a couple of days, and then they would appreciate all of us in the ag world, right? Well, I unknowingly caused a worldwide pandemic, so I apologize for that. But what we really saw in 2020, for the first time for anyone's lifetime that's around now, people walked into the grocery stores, not just here in Oklahoma, but across the United States, and the food that they were expecting to be there was not there, right? That's something that in America, we as Americans are not accustomed to. We have the safest, most abundant, most affordable food supply in the entire world. And suddenly, March and April, everyone said, okay, hey, where's this food? Grocery store, where's this food? Where's this food? Where's this food, right? Because we assume as consumers that it just shows up there. And we jokingly talk a lot about people who think that food magically shows up at the grocery store or magically shows up at some warehouse somewhere. But I think it was a wonderful opportunity for us who are in the ag sector to connect with consumers and say, hey, remember, there's 2% of us that feed everyone. And let us tell you a little bit about how that happens and how important it is that that continues to happen. I truly believe that food security is national security. Because and I'm a mom, I've got 2 kiddos, if I can't feed my kids or if I don't have accessibility to food for my kids, then nothing else matters in the day, right? Everything that I become concerned about is that. It's their well-being and taking care of them. Now we're at a place in time where we do such an exceptional job with our food supply chain that as moms, we don't have to worry about food showing up at the grocery store, and we can do all these other wonderful things. But we had this little pause point in time where things changed. Another big piece of that, certainly at my house, was that suddenly I was having to cook for my children 3 times a day, right? Which some of you parents out there may be better than I am, but we run a lot of different direction, as I know all busy families do, and so it was, you kind of got in the habit of, okay, we'll go grab something after the ball game and we'll do this. Well, suddenly, food at home, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I realized that my children just never stop eating. I'm not real sure where that food goes, but they just eat all the time. I would feed them and they're like, okay, Mom, can we have a snack? I'm like, it's 8:30, I just fed you breakfast. You don't need a snack. So we had this big shift in, we had shut off restaurant food service for COVID reasons, and understandably, but suddenly everybody's at home, everybody's cooking, and everyone is having different ideas about what they've been feeding themselves, what they've been feeding their families, and how important those connections are with their producers. I think that when we look to the opportunity, I think that's really where the opportunity is, because everyone had a moment to pause, right? So many things got shut down. We weren't running to a ball game or to a livestock show. I was working from home, which in our house changed a lot of dynamics. We were all home together, which I think my husband turned totally gray-headed over that experience. But everyone's life paused for a moment, and food became a big piece of that because there was more opportunity to focus on it. So I think the opportunity that we really see is we'd always talked about, or I believe we talked about, consumers want local food, right? They want to know their producer, they want to know how that food is grown, but I believe we saw that really accentuated in 2020 because suddenly people started asking questions. Okay, well, I can't find beef or pork or poultry at the grocery store. Why is that? Where's that food coming from? I want to support a local producer. How can I do that? How can I connect with them? And so what we saw was with Oklahoma that the Department of Ag staff worked on with these ways to connect directly to consumers, no matter the product, if it was produce or if it was protein, people were selling out in days. And we saw consumers say, I want to continue to be able to access that product from the local producers. One, because people like to support Oklahomans and they like to support Oklahoma producers. But two, they want to know more about what they're feeding their family. So this tremendous and they'll pay for it. That's what we really, really learned. They will pay for it. And I think sometimes that was always the question, is where is that margin that we can access and what truly is the value to a consumer for that local product. And I think we saw with resounding results, it's important to consumers and they're glad to use their expendable income to purchase those local products. Another piece that I think is great is we saw so many consumers figure out how hard it is to be in production agriculture. I have a very dear friend who lives in Oklahoma City and has grown up in very metro areas her entire life. She has 2 little girls. And so when the pandemic started, she said, Blaine, the kids are at home, I'm working from home, we want to start a garden. What should I do? And so we've got wonderful resources, certainly from everyone from Langston to OSU Extension, our Master Gardeners programs. And so I sent her lots of those pieces, contacts with our staff at the department. And so she started these seedlings in her garage, and she was doing all these Instagram stories, and they were growing things, and she was showing her kids different things that they'd grown and kind of changing their palate a little bit, and all this wonderful enthusiasm. And she'd kind of done little mini hoop houses just in this little space that she has in her backyard. But then, as we do in Oklahoma, we had a significant weather event, and it destroyed all of her hard work and blew away all of her, kind of mini hoop houses. And she calls me and she's like, this is horrible. I've done all this work and it just disappeared overnight and there's nothing that I can do. And I said, well, welcome to being in production agriculture. This is what we deal with in Oklahoma, certainly. But just for her to have that small experience, so much greater appreciation for our producers that deal with that every single day. And she got to see on a small scale what a lot of you deal with on a big scale. She would call and she'd said, there's some bug, like I don't know what it is. What do I do? What do I put on it? What's okay to put on it? So I know we had a lot of people who went outside more, a lot of folks who started growing something at home, a lot of kids who were kind of doing science class with their kids at home through those gardening experiences. So a lot of consumer awareness, and I want to make sure that we continue that momentum. I know there's tremendous opportunity for this local movement to continue. That's kind of what we continue to hear from all of our consumers. where do I get these products? Can I get more of these products? How do we help these producers be successful? And so that's certainly what we want to do from the department's perspective. Something I'm very proud of that we saw within the farmers market, I know we've got some managers here, I know we've got a lot of vendors here, is you all very quickly figured out how to keep those wheels moving because folks couldn't find some things at the grocery store. So you figured out contactless delivery. You figured out how to communicate with the vendors at your markets, and we saw some tremendous growth in those markets. And I think we have a lot of people that changed their buying decisions because they maybe went to a farmer's market and they had never done that before. We had a lot of people who took their kids or families to agritourism venues because it was outside, because you could socially distance and still have an activity. So even though 2020 was really, really tough, and I'll stay away from some of the really icky stories that we dealt with at the department. Things I told staff, I said, I will be really happy if we don't ever have another situation where I look around the room at our division directors and go, okay, has anyone ever dealt with this before? And everyone goes, nope. I mean, we're writing this playbook for so many things, for our challenges in the processing sector, for seeds that started showing up magically in the mail, and then we had murder hornets, and then we had virus outbreak. I mean, it was just like, okay, what else 2020 are you going to kind of toss at us, and we'll figure out how to navigate through it. And then we get a blizzard in 21, right? I thought we all had kind of taken our beating in 2020, but then we have this historic blizzard in 2021. So lots of challenges, but tremendous, tremendous opportunity. I think we need to continue to build on this momentum of this continued conversation that we have had with consumers about their food, about how it's produced, who's producing it, supporting local producers. Some things that I think will be great in the protein sector through CARES dollars. We did see expansion of 40 different facilities here in the state of Oklahoma on the protein side, so those small and medium-sized processors for hogs and poultry and beef. So we have a lot of expansion on that small scale for that. Career Tech has been a tremendous partner with the department. We now have a mobile meat processing unit. We have several FFA chapters across the state of Oklahoma where students are learning both online and hands-on those skills that are necessary for the meat processing sector. So we're working to develop that workforce that will be ready then for this expansion that we're seeing in the processing sector side of things. So good things coming from a challenging situation. The one thing that we know is nobody's going to stop eating, right? So job security for all of us, but we've got to figure out how to not lose this conversation that was started in 2020. I just think that it was in some ways so eye-opening for so many people about where their food comes from. And that's a conversation that is important to all of us, and the health benefits and long-term health outcomes when you make better food purchasing decisions for your family. So challenging 2020, but look forward to a lot of good things to come in 21. I will tell you, I think we're in a great place in the ag sector. You saw the message from Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell. He was at our 2 previous events in 19 and 20. You will find no greater champion for the state of Oklahoma and the wonderful resources that we have than Matt Pinnell. He will take any phone call. He's worked really well with our staff at the Department of Ag, promoting tourism, promoting agritourism, promoting everything that ag producers do. And I say that to say, between Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell and Governor Stitt, we have a team that really cares about the ag industry here in the state of Oklahoma. And that's all that I could ever ask for, that when we have ag issues, when we have challenges, that we have someone there that will listen, understands the dynamics of rural Oklahoma, and the challenges that sometimes can impact rural Oklahoma. So there's a great team here in the state of Oklahoma. I'm very proud of our staff at the Department of Ag. Certainly our market development staff had so many of their typical events canceled. I know when we very first started in this pandemic, we're having calls about the State Fair and Tulsa State Fair, because we have the wonderful Made in Oklahoma venues at the State Fair with the store and at Tulsa State Fair. In April, I'm like, I don't know why we're talking about this. This will surely be gone by fair time, right? Well, I threw away my crystal ball in April of last year because I thought the world would settle back down, and it didn't quite as quickly as we wanted it to. But staff pivoted, found different ways to reach out to folks, did a lot of virtual things, and I think we will take some really positives from that as well. So just very glad to be here with all of you all this morning. Again, I'm so glad to see people in person, and I know we've got folks streaming online as well. Please know that at the department, we want to help you all be successful. You've got this team here from the Department of Ag that can answer probably any question that you have. But if you have ideas, if you have questions about regulatory pieces, regulatory framework, things that you think we can serve you better as a Department of Ag, please don't hesitate to let us know. A lot of times as I have the chance to travel and talk to individual producers, they may bring up an issue and say, why do you all do X, Y, Z? And I can go back to staff and say, well, why do we do this? Sometimes there's a valid reason, and then sometimes there's a not from a regulatory piece, and they go, I don't know, that's just what we've done for like 30 years. Well, that's not a great answer, right? So please feel free to communicate with us. We love new ideas. We love out-of-the-box thinking. And I hope, I know that 21 is going to be a great year for our farmers markets, for agritourism venues, for ag overall. So we're looking forward to better days in 21. I'm excited to hear the results of your all's Ag Summit today, but please, again, don't hesitate to contact us if we can be a resource to you, and wish you all the very best. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you so much, Secretary Arthur. Lots of exciting things to come, and I think that we said a whole lot in 2020 that if we could just get past that year, everything would be better. I'm not sure if we should have said that a whole lot, but I am excited about 2021 as well. Just to echo a little bit about what the Secretary said, there might not be a more flexible set of people than you all right here, and you did some amazing things to reach the consumers, and it's something that my staff talks about in market development at ODAF every day, is how to keep this momentum going and how to keep that conversation strong. So happy to hear ideas about that anytime. Let's talk a little bit about logistics for today. So we all know that the masks are a city requirement. That does include all indoor spaces in the city of Oklahoma City. So masks or face shields are required. Trust me, we all know how uncomfortable and annoying this is, but we are going to ask you throughout the day, if we see you without a mask, to please put that on. We made a lot of agreements to be in all of these spaces that we're going to be in today to follow the rules. So we're going to try really hard to do that. If you don't mind wearing your mask at all times. Obviously, our tables are really distanced. We are working on social distancing. You are welcome to sit with your friends or family groups. Even though there's only 2 chairs at tables, you are welcome to move those around as you see fit if you're with a group you came with or are comfortable with, but we still ask you to keep those masks on. We have hand sanitizer in a big pump at every location today. You are welcome to use that at any time. We also have Clorox wipes. If you notice we don't have tablecloths today. We wanted that space to be sanitizable for you. So if you feel like you are at a new seat and want to sanitize that, you're welcome to either come ask us to sanitize that for you or grab a Clorox wipe yourself. We want to do as much as possible to make you feel comfortable. If you haven't found the restrooms yet, really easy, just right outside this door, and when you're walking out, you take a right, so that's on the west side there. Elevator right here, west side of the building, and then most of you, I believe, came up the stairs. This is our location for the growers session. So we have 3 breakouts today: the growers, the market managers, and agritourism. So the growers will stay in here today. You are more than welcome to switch seats wherever you are most comfortable. And if you noticed when you were signing up that you were supposed to pick either or sessions. So we actually did not max out today. So if you have decided you don't want to stay at one of those breakouts that you picked online, you are welcome to change your mind today. So we will be asking for your QR codes, and if that doesn't match the session, that's okay. We will deal with that as it comes. So if you decide you wanted to go to another session, I know it's really hard to choose. Even when we used to have all the tracks going on all day long, it was hard, and I think it got even harder once we had fewer. I don't know how that works, but there's so many great sessions today. Anthem Brewery is going to be the spot for the market managers. If you are not a market manager yet but are thinking about being one, you are welcome in that session. And the Park House at the Myriad Gardens is the agritourism session. Some really great conversations going to take place at all of those today. If you are curious, you can always look in your app and look at that agenda to see who is speaking. Lunch, you will notice that we did not provide food and beverage for you this morning, and we won't be providing it at lunch. That we kind of hate that. We love to feed you a locally sourced lunch, but that is part of our COVID protocols. We're just limiting touch points as much as possible. So you are welcome to enjoy any of the fabulous restaurants down here. There's a lot of good suggestions in the Whova app, or you can pull up your Google Maps. And you are welcome to eat at any of our 3 locations if you'd like to have food delivered or pick up. You notice you have an extra long lunchtime today. We wanted you to be able to enjoy that networking time at your location, or to be able to go to a restaurant if you so choose. So please enjoy your lunch. Find somebody you've never talked to before or made a connection with the app. Find your friends from last year or even your good buddies, and go to lunch, and let's keep this conversation going. Excuse me. We have very long breaks in between our sessions to allow you to have time to go to those locations, even though they are very close. Parking at Anthem Brewery is pretty easy. There's a parking lot to the east and the west of that location. And parking at the Park House is in the garage. And there is a map on your Whova app, or we can explain that for you, on the best location to enter that garage. That does cost, so if you want to carpool over there, you can. I believe it's $8 for the day. But that is the best location over there to park. You don't have to go feed a meter or worry about any of that. We want you to experience all the sessions you want to, but we are recording everything. It will be available to you from here until eternity. So if you are just torn and can't decide, you will have plenty of opportunity to go do that. We are, for our online viewers today, we will be monitoring the chat box. We ask, if possible, if you could use the Zoom chat. That is a little more efficient for us to try to have chat all in one place, but there is a Whova chat as well, and we'll do our best to monitor those. We're going to hear about Whova here just a little bit more in a minute. But we want you to feel included, even though that's a little harder virtually. I think we're all trying to learn how to do that better. But we want you to ask those questions, and if you don't get your answer right away, just know that we will set aside time at the end of every session to answer your chat box questions. Even if those are just about connectivity or something in the app or agenda, we will do our best to answer those in a timely fashion and get you to be a part of the conversation. I believe, I do want to mention downstairs, you probably noticed when you came in, we have a little bit of room to do things that our typical setup in a hotel wouldn't have allowed us to do. There's a couple of demonstrations down there that you are definitely want to go visit. Leon Sloan has constructed a greenhouse downstairs, a hoop house downstairs, and is excited to talk to everyone about that. If you don't have one of these yet, yet, you're probably looking into it, so you definitely want to go talk to him. There's smart pot demonstrations downstairs. I know a lot of our berry growers are starting to use those and other avenues as well. We also have Joe from ODAF doing scale calibration, so if you brought your scales today, he can handle that. They will all be down there until the end of the day, but our break sessions are a great time to go visit with them. We just ask that, and I don't think it's going to be a problem today, but we just ask that you respect social distancing down there as well. We're trying to not have a huge crowd somewhere, so if there's already a line, maybe you go visit someone else and come back and help us with traffic control there. I do want to make sure everybody is aware of the closing session today, which will be back in this room. Everyone is welcome at that session. And we will be hearing from our NRCS partners, I believe, as well as USDA Rural Development. But we will also hear from a really great speaker you saw advertised, John Bob Simple, will be talking about how to get involved with your local community. A lot of times at this conference, we talk about how we focus on how to grow better, how to be more sustainable, all of that stuff for ourselves. And so we wanted to bring in somebody that could talk to you about how to give back to your community and how to get involved in the local food space. So we're really excited to hear from him today and see what he has, some ideas to spark in all of us and how to be better community partners and maybe serve our community. The pandemic certainly shined a light on food availability for everyone, but especially perhaps some of the underserved populations found it a little harder as well. So we want to learn how to give back to the community, and we also have door prizes, and you can only receive those if you are here with us. So we want you to come back for that session and join us for the end of the day. So don't get too distracted at lunch or on breaks. Come back and visit us at the end of the day. I'm going to turn this over to Meredith from the ONI Project now, and she's the Hoover Wizard. She is going to tell us all about this amazing app.
Hello, everyone, and I hope you are starting off your day with a good cup of coffee and ready to learn a lot. So we are using the Hoover app. This app we have been using for 3 years now, and each year we use it a little bit more efficiently, and this year we are really using it because we have over 150 participants virtually who will be live streaming all of our sessions and are live streaming right now. I wanted to go over some of the features. You can access the Hoover app through your smartphone, your tablet, or your laptop. And you can use a web browser. You guys all received an email that was said, virtual or in-person details. There is a link, there's links there on that email, or there's lots of links on your confirmation emails. So whenever we go to the Hoover app, I wanted to kind of go over a little bit because the titles we weren't allowed to change. It's part of their system. So we use the titles to put our information in, and I just wanted to make sure you guys knew what to find. So first, under the Documents tab, that's our virtual packet. Every year we always have a nice little tote bag filled with lots of resources, information on what are the new policies, if there's any new legislation, or if there's anything that you need to know from supporting organizations, other workshops, lots of things like that. Anything that you would find in the packet, those are PDF documents in the Documents folder. Also, for those in person, the floor maps, that's our parking maps. So we will have the session Q&As. We are asking that we use the Zoom chat. For you guys in person, you can just ask questions, and we'll make sure that we type out your questions so everybody on Zoom can also hear it, and then the speaker can answer. But we are asking that you use the Zoom chat, you guys who are hanging out virtually, so we all are asking our questions in one spot. You can see the speaker list. We do want to make sure that you guys, when you hit survey, those are session feedback, and we'll also have an overall conference feedback. When you click the agenda feature, so the next slide, you can plan your day, and you can mark the sessions you want to go to. And so on this, you can go to each session, and then we have sub-sessions within each session. So we have our different blocks from like 10:30 to noon, and then in that you'll have 2 sub-sessions. The PowerPoints, for those who are attending virtually, you click on the sub-sessions to find the PowerPoints. And we put the PowerPoints in one PDF file, so it's easy for you to pull up, download, keep as a resource, take notes on, however you would like to do it. Also, you guys in person can also do that too. You also can find the speaker bio and the speaker contact there. And we want to make sure that you know that there is a little button that says rate. That is our session survey. And we need you to fill that out per subsession, not by overall session. So each subsession will have its own rate button. And that is where you can tell us how that speaker did, what you think, what we could do better, what they did well, all that jazz. And then I also wanted to point out that you'll see these networking blocks on your agenda. Those networking blocks, we have set up a Zoom, like a virtual Zoom platform where you have breakout rooms based off of the different topics. That's going to be open actually all day. That link is live all day, and you can, as a participant, go in and out of that Zoom and turn on your speaker and talk to people. So if you're chatting with somebody, you can meet up there and have a face-to-face, well, virtual face-to-face conversation with them in the networking. So you'll go into that, you'll select which group you can be in. You can pick whichever one you want. You don't, but I believe right now we have market managers and community, agritourism, and producers. So you can go into those, start a conversation. It's just a place for you to have a virtual networking opportunity while the in-person participants can do that in person. Okay, next slide. I kind of explained this a little bit more, sorry. We also have our community boards. These boards are on Whova, and we have lots of topics, and a lot of people are talking about what's going on. We tried to, many of our speakers have actually set up discussion boards. They want to hear a little bit more in depth on what you're thinking. This will help guide our future presentations, what resources are needed, what they could answer. They're going to be on there, so if you had a question about aquaponics, we can have somebody, probably Daniel Wilson, answer that question about aquaponics. Or we have other topics on it. There's tons of topics, so please feel free to use those. We want you to be able to engage. We know that our networking is a little limited this year, so we're trying to open up these virtual platforms to allow you guys as guests. And obviously, all in-person participants are welcome to also participate in these community boards, and I believe many of you have, so thank you. And I believe the last thing I wanted to say, is, which I mentioned it already, I just wanted to pull up this PowerPoint, the next slide, is how to rate. So in yellow here, you see it for those in person. I have what it looks like on a mobile app. And I also, for the long ways, for you guys on Zoom, that is what it looks like on your computer. So the highlighted part right there, that is what you click, and you need to do that for each subsession. So please know that if you have any questions, you can ask in the community board, go ask the organizer, and that messages me and Jade and a couple of the team members, I think. So we're here to help answer questions. We also, are here to answer any questions on the Zoom chat. You can please make it open to all, or you can even put a private message to the moderator if it's a technical question. So let us know if we can help you. We hope you have a wonderful conference today, and I will invite Mary Ruth back on.
I may not look that old, but I am definitely older than the app generation, and this is very hard for me. So I definitely understand if you're struggling. Please let us help you throughout the day. If you're having trouble pulling up something or figuring out where the surveys are, don't ask me. Ask one of these team members, and they can help you through this Whova app. It is a really great data collector, and it helps us so much when we go to plan things for other years. So, without further ado, I believe we will dismiss for our first networking session.